Thank you. So we'll begin from here and just giving us an overlap of what we covered last. So many beautiful pointers for all of us to, as a mantra, we can use these pointers, and veils his knowledge by the groping mind. This line here. So, all the time we are actually just trying to make sense of things by our groping mind. As if we tirelessly want to connect the dots in our lives, what is happening, what has happened in the past, what will happen in the future, tirelessly, and we do get drained in that. Many, even psychological diseases happen, physical diseases happen, just because we can't stop this chattery mind. Veils his knowledge by, as if this limited conceptual mind, the sense mind that we have, which perceives all that comes through the sense doors, as if it is like a curtain which does not let us perceive the soul reality that sits unfelt by the form in which he lives. So we are the form in which he is living, 24/7 he is living, but we can't sense because we are sensing too much extra through our sense doors. The mind is trying to make sense of worldly happenings all the time. And in that groping, trying to make sense of things in my life through my sense doors, I actually can't sense the one who sits unfelt by the form. Nameless resident vesting unseen powers. So if only we could get in touch with this inner presence, indwelling divine, nameless resident vesting unseen powers. There is a compilation by A.S. Dalal, it's called Powers Within. There, it's the words of Mother Sri Aurobindo, power of thought, power of imagination. So these are supposed to be our powers, mind, thoughts, thinking. These are supposed to be our powers, imagination. But the way we currently in our deluded mind use it, it's mostly for our destruction. It doesn't appear like a power, power of thought. Usually it appears more like a prison of thought. Hmm? So this is our capacity. That's why training of the mind is so important. Right from the childhood, training our mind to still down when not necessary and to think when necessary. Mother has talked so much on concentration. Concentrating when you want to, and then thinking when you have to think. And we see that we don't require that much of active thinking, the one that we do usually in the loop going on and on and on. We really don't require it. So, in the meantime, while the inner presence is veiled, we are just as if the Lord is a wanderer in a world his thoughts have made. So, we as individuals, we are nothing but a wanderer in a world of thoughts. It's like we have created a web and we have now got caught in it. We do it every day. He turns in a chiaroscuro of error and truth. So I had shared last time, chiaroscuro is a word coming from Italian language. It's like light and dark, play of light and dark, like a checkboard, chessboard. Light, dark, light, dark. So our life, since we are mostly in our limited sense mind, our life is nothing but mostly darkness, and then moments of light, and then darkness again, then moments of light, then darkness again. So it's the groping mind trying to make sense of things. He turns in a chiaroscuro of error and truth to find a wisdom that on a high is his. And the wisdom that we seek, the clarity that we seek, the perfection that we seek in our life, it actually belongs to us on the highest possible level of consciousness. We are divine, we are God in the highest possible level of consciousness. But there are so many veils on the way which have to be recognized and let go of, and recognized and let go of. And that's the journey. That's the journey we are all on. So we are all, as in Buddhism they say, we are all Buddha natured. We are all enlightened beings. So that's true. Even Mother Sri Aurobindo, we are all divine. sons of God, but we don't know because we are taking too seriously our thoughts, feelings, all that goes on in the sense mind. What that person said, again the mind interprets that language. What I saw, that person may be talking to a person, again the mind interprets, makes his own story, and we believe into those stories. That's our delusion, that's our dream, that we believe in our stories. So the first thing that has to be done is to not to take our stories that seriously if we want to really get in touch with our true essence. As one forgetting, he searches for himself. So the Lord has forgotten himself and now he's searching himself as if in our individual, beings. The Lord is obviously, he is the all knowing, all pervading. He knows. But as an individual consciousness, it's like as if one is lost. So we'll listen to a teaching on this, who is forgetting actually. As one forgetting, he searches for himself as if he had lost an inner light that he seeks. When we thought can really lead us astray so much that we enter deep darkness, depressions, we commit suicides entering that depression. And imagine that the Lord himself created the darkness, but the freedom of the play is so vast that he allows the depression to go as deep as one wants to, because there is a free will at every point. So if I don't become cognizant of a free will that is there with me every moment, I can choose not to identify with my thoughts and feelings. The moment I do that, use that free will, I am out of the depression in that moment. But if not, then as if he had lost an inner light he seeks. Sometimes thoughts become so overwhelming, all the stories become so overwhelming that there is hardly any light to be seen. As if he had lost an inner light he seeks, as a sojourner lingering amidst alien scenes. We have no idea where we have come, how we have gotten lost so much, so badly. He journeys to a home he knows no more. So consciously, we don't feel home, but we have no idea of what is home. So we are all seeking for our true homes, but we don't know what is that true home. And that's why it's good to recognize the unease present in us. That yes, I'm uneasy, I'm not home, I'm not feeling home. And no one can be happy in unease. Although one can get habituated to unease, that's what happens when we are anxious for many, many years. So when the anxiety is not there, as if it's become part of my identity. And when the anxiety is not there, I feel actually restless that, oh my God, as if something from myself is missing. So in the beginning, it can be discomforting if one is used to an uneasy way of life, anxious way of life, panicky way of life. That ease and stillness can actually unnerve us. Silence can unnerve us. I'm not easy with the silence and stillness. But we all want to go home. And we don't have to travel anywhere to go home. It's right here with us all the time. His own self's truth he seeks. Who is the truth? So that's the paradox. The one who is the truth himself is seeking for, in individual beings, he is seeking for the truth. That's the paradox. He is the player who became the play, this complicated play of our lives. So many roles, so many characters entangled with each other. He is the player, he is the sole player, playing all the characters who has become the play. He is the thinker who became the thought. So he is the original thinker of who created all this. He is the original one. This web Maya, as we say, divine Maya, as Sri Aurobindo says, is his creation. Mama Maya in Gita, he says Krishna. Mama Maya, it's my creation. He is the many who was the silent one. So the one has created many, all the manifestations that we can sense within ourselves, thought at the thought level, feeling level, sense perceptions, our limbs, our contradictory personalities within, outside many persons, insects, creatures. He is the many who was the silent one. All is he. He is in all. But we are not usually aware of this when we are living our day to day life. And that's why we lead a deluded life mostly. And that's why it helps, when we read these words for ourselves, it helps and it makes something rest within us. Something which gets restless again and again, it calms it down. So we will, there is a short teaching by Rupert Spira on this one, this line, as one forgetting, he searches for himself. So who is searching for whom? So he gives a very nice description about this. So I'll play the teaching for us. Maybe it makes it a little clear. Yeah, this one. So there is no real forgetting of awareness. Let's listen to this one.
What or who, I don't know, there's no right word, but what or who is doing the forgetting? What or who is doing the believing that we are a separate body? Where does that come from? If we are all awareness,
Yes.
and awareness doesn't forget itself, is always aware of itself, who's or what is doing that forgetting?
There is no entity that is doing the forgetting or the believing or the thinking or the feeling. The forgetting or the believing is an appearance that awareness itself is assuming, in just the same way that the image is an appearance that the screen is assuming. There is no entity apart from the screen that is doing the appearing as an image. It is because the screen itself, the TV screen, the self-aware screen, is the only thing present there to be appearing as the image. So the forgetting, which comes in the form of a belief and a feeling, it is consciousness itself that veils itself with its own activity. Now, you might say, well, if sticking to the metaphor of the screen, and in this case it's a TV screen, but the screen is a self-aware screen. It's not like a TV that's being watched by someone sitting on the sofa. The screen is watching the movie that it is taking the shape of. So you might say, well, it's the screen itself that appears as the movie, that's fine. But it is the screen that is watching the movie, so from its point of view, there is no veiling of itself, because it is the sole content of the image, and that's absolutely correct. From the point of view of awareness, there is no real forgetting or veiling of itself. So, your question, for whom is the forgetting? Whose ignorance is it? It is only from the point of view of one of the characters in the movie that the screen seems to be missing. From the point of view of the character in the movie, there is just a landscape, but the screen is absent. From the point of view of the screen, there is just the screen modulating itself in the form of the landscape. The character in the movie is the separate self. It is only from its own point of view that the screen seems to be missing. In other words, that there seems to be ignorance. So the ignorance is for the illusory character. And hence in the Vedantic tradition, they talk about they don't speak of ignorance, they speak of the illusion of ignorance. Because it's only real from the illusory point of view of the imaginary character. In other words, ignorance is a point of view. It's not something that is really there. It's a way of seeing. It's not something that is seen. From the screen's point of view, which is the only real point of view, from the point of view of the self-aware screen, which is the only real point of view because that is all that is really there, there is no real veiling of itself. So in other words, from awareness's point of view, there is no veiling of itself, because all thinking, sensing and perceiving are simply a modulation of its own knowing. It's only
So I don't know if it made sense. When I was watching it, it made a lot of sense for me. So I thought I'll share it with you. Because when we are knowing ourselves, in our meditative silence, for example, when we are knowing or taking a stance as the awareness within, then we are not deluded. I am the awareness. I am the consciousness, in other words. That is that is conscious of a thought, that is conscious of a feeling, that is conscious of senses. I am that consciousness. Then there is, I'm not deluded. But when I forget that, when as he was sharing that the character in the movie, he is not aware of the screen. So when we are too lost in our stories, then we lose as if awareness of the screen. But when I am awareness, when I take a stance as awareness, then I am not deluded. Then, as he was sharing, that from the point of view of consciousness itself, there is no suffering, because all that is happening is a play. But from the point of view of the egoistic, separate, illusory self, which is a falsehood, as Mother says, we create as if I am a separate self. So from that sense of self, there is delusion, there is Maya. I don't know who I truly am. So this is where we had stopped last. I thought we'll take it slow, so that's why I stretched it a bit. And this is where we begin today. Page 68. In the symbol figures of the cosmic force. This is the last stanza of this section, and then we begin with the new one. Yeah, anyone who would like to go ahead and read?
Yeah. In the symbol figures of the cosmic force, and in her living and inanimate signs, and in her complex tracery of events, he explores the ceaseless miracle of himself till the thousandfold enigma has been solved in the single light of an all-witnessing soul.
Yeah. In the symbol figures of the cosmic force and in her living and inanimate signs, so the way Prakriti or Shakti or Aditi, Divine Mother, manifests herself. She has been given the task of manifestation. So in her symbol figures of cosmic force, Mother is the cosmic force. In her living and inanimate signs, all that is in the creation, all the little signs and creations that we have. In her complex traceries of events, all the ups and downs and challenges and stories and enigma of our life. Tracery is something like, I'll just share the screen with you to make it clear. This is what is tracery, these intricate designs that are there. Many a times we see it in churches and other areas. So this intricate patterns that our lives have, and it's the Shakti or the force that is doing that creation. In her complex tracery of events, he explores the ceaseless miracle of himself. So we saw in the earlier, lines that we read that Purusha willfully surrenders to Prakriti, that you go ahead, you take the charge of cosmic management. Just like the management of ashram was given to the mother, mother was managing the ashram. Sri Aurobindo was just there, his presence was there. But he gave uh, mother the charge. So Prakriti has the charge, but although it may appears as a blind force, as a mute force at times, but it's a conscious force. It is very, very connected with the truth or the idea of truth. It's a conscious force. He explores the ceaseless miracle of himself. So Aditi, or the Divine Mother, or this conscious force, it's nothing but a manifestation of Supreme Himself. They are never away from each other. The Purusha and Prakriti, they are one with each other. They are one, the two who are one, the lines that we read earlier. So through her movements, through Prakriti's movements, he is exploring his own miracle till the thousandfold enigma has been solved in the single light of an all witnessing soul. So the only light there is the light of this all witnessing Purusha that is there, ever present, ever present. But he has chosen to be silent one. He is allowed the Prakriti to do the job, and he's chosen to take a second seat. Supernumerary, one word that we, just like extra characters in a movie, they allow themselves to be ignored. So he has allowed himself to be ignored so that the play can happen. And when this thousandfold enigma will be resolved, when this self-awareness, self-realization, just a second. Sorry. So ultimately, we all are destined to realize ourselves, no matter how many lifetimes it may take. This true realization of full divinity has to dawn in each being. So till that time, till the thousandfold enigma has been solved in the single light of an all witnessing soul, he allows the mother, the cosmic force, to take charge, and he follows her movements. So this is the pact that they signed, that I will follow your movement. So please keep sharing if there is anything in between, else we just move ahead. Yeah. So anyone who would like to read next?
This was his compact with his mighty mate, for love of her and joined to her forever, to follow the course of time's eternity. Amid magic dramas of her sudden moods and the surprises of her masked idea and the vicissitudes of her vast caprice.
Yeah, thank you. So this was the pact, as if they signed a pact together that, okay, you go ahead and I will stay shut, silent, and let's enjoy the play. This was his compact with his mighty mate, the Shakti, cosmic force, or mother, for love of her and joined to her forever, to follow the course of time's eternity. On one hand, time appears limited, and yet we know that time is eternal, limitless, beginningless time, as we say. To follow the course of time's eternity, and we don't know since how many, what time we have started and how long this play is going to go. We have no clue. To follow the course of time's eternity amid magic dramas of her sudden moods. So this is what makes the play so interesting. That it appears like, oh my God, what a movement! Suddenly there is a sudden movement. sudden impulse of Prakriti and some other move happens, and we are wondering, oh my God, how to make sense of it. So that gives us a kind of a surprise element, that uh, we can't say why is this happening. But whatever little nitty gritties, whatever happens, the happenings of life, as we say, somehow they're conscious happenings. We are not conscious of them, but there is a kind of an intelligent design behind them. But we don't know, uh, actually, we don't know the larger plan. And this also reminds us of, I think it was Amal Kiran, who how he got to know of Sri Aurobindo, who helped, actually Sri Aurobindo, and they were together working on Savitri, would edit and send Sri Aurobindo suggestions. So I think it was this anecdote I read somewhere, that he went to a shoe store, and the shoes that he got, uh, on it there was a wrapping of a newspaper, and there he saw Sri Aurobindo's picture, or maybe an article from him, and then he just went away and kind of belonged to him. So we don't know when these things are happening. We have no idea. These are chance happenings, as Sri Aurobindo says in Savitri. But even these chance events are conscious events. This play of Prakriti is a conscious play, but we are not aware of the play. That gives us the surprise, adventurous kind of an element. So magic dramas of her sudden moods and the surprises of her masked ideas, masked, it's veiled from our conscious sight, and the vicissitudes of her vast caprice. So the challenges that are there on the way, and although from her side it may appear just like a mood or a whim or a fancy caprice, but we have to go through those challenges. And we all know that no matter how many challenges we may have gone through as individuals in our life, they do give us joy. At times when they were happening, they may be a little dull and sad and maybe sorrowful. We may have grieved, but in a long run, when we look back, and if there is any little true realization, we see the how one event led to another, and how one event led to another, and there is a faith that comes, that yeah, although I did not know, but it was all happening for a purpose which I was not aware of, and the only purpose is to have the self realization. All of us are bound towards this is our destiny, and no matter how many times we may say a no to this moving towards our own realization, but the universe is hell bent that this has to happen. That's our only destiny. So many a times we cry, because of our vital and my wants, my likings, why are they not happening? But we don't know what is good for us. And that's why surrender comes into picture, because just like a mother, a child, mother knows that eating too many candies are not good for a child. Too much addiction is not good for a child. But the child doesn't know that. Child enjoys candy, and he runs whenever he's upset. He runs to the candy again and again. So the mother, what he does, wanting to benefit the child, she hides the candy. Now, in the beginning, it may appear very discomforting and even painful for the child that, okay, why the candy is not being given to an upset child. But for a longer run, it's good for the child. That the moment something upsetting happen and you reach out for a candy, and you can't go through that process of discomfort, going through the pain, going through the unease. That makes us stronger. Candies will make us weaker and will destroy the teeth also. So mother knows, right? And that's why at times she hides away those candies, that let me not give you those candies, because I know they are not good for you. All our addictions. So there is a consciousness behind all the happenings, which is not really understandable or palpable from the appearance. Okay, maybe we can take it all together here. Yeah, anyone?
May I read from?
Yeah.
two seem his goals, yet ever are they one, and gaze at each other over bourneless time. Spirit and matter are their end and source, a seeker of hidden meanings in life's forms of the great mother's wide, uncharted will, and the rude enigma of her terrestrial ways. He is the explorer and the mariner on a secret inner ocean without bourne. Okay, madam? Bourne. He is the
Yes, yes. Yeah.
adventurer and cosmologist of a magic Earth's obscure geography. Thank you, madam.
Yeah, thank you. So it seems like there are two opposite ends, spirit and matter. So the matter, consider when we talk about matter, sense perceptions, thoughts, feelings, they all come there all together. And then there is our soul consciousness or the spirit, which calls us higher and higher. So it seems like these are opposite ends, but actually they are not opposite ends, but like partners in the game. We start from the matter, go through a long series, go towards the call of the spirit, and the spirit delves into the matter and then starts the journey again. So it's like what we say Kal Chakra. So two seems his goals, yet ever are they one. They are one. Spirit and matter are not disjoint from each other. It's just because of our sense perceptions, it appears that matter is crude and and it's like inconscient. But as Sri Aurobindo says, that the divine has involuted himself in the matter. And now, through the process of evolution, he comes out of the matter. Like he has hidden himself in the matter, and now he's coming out of the matter. So, if he was not already in the matter, how would he come out of the matter? So, if something has been involuted, only then the evolution can happen. So the divine is involuted in each one of us, and hence our highest possibility is the manifestation of divine. If I wrap a diamond in a lot of mud, that mud has the opportunity to give rise to the diamond because the diamond is wrapped in the mud. So, and what happens in the process is that mud also has the possibility of change owing to the presence of diamond. And mud we can regard as our material existence. And with Mother and Sri Aurobindo's yoga, that also has the possibility to have a divine manifestation. Matter can become divine, it will become divine. When Sri Aurobindo talks of a supramental race where the bodies will also be different, new race. So because the divine is there, because the diamond is there, even the mud will undergo change. That's the pressure from above. So two seem his goals, yet ever are they one, and gaze at each other over bourneless time, a time which has no borders, no limits. Spirit and matter are their end and source. A seeker of hidden meanings in life's forms. So it's talking about he is the explorer. He a seeker of hidden meanings in life's forms. So when the Prakriti is manifesting and creating with her own whims and fancies, he is the seeker. He wants to find out the hidden meanings, the true adventurer. He enjoys this play of hide and seek. A seeker of hidden meanings in life forms, of the great mother's wide, uncharted will. So vast, this creation. And we have no end to the number of species that can be found. There, forever and ever, we find more and more and more of the great mother's wide, uncharted will. Uncharted is something, an area which is not mapped. So we see even through science, we become aware of more and more and more. Okay, this galaxy, that galaxy out there, this star, that black hole. So there is always more, uncharted will. And the rude enigma of our terrestrial ways, the mystery that is this terrestrial life, at times may appear even rude and cruel. He is the explorer and the mariner. He himself has plunged in this disguise, and now he's exploring. He's a mariner, as if like a vast ocean of consciousness, and he's exploring. Now, here comes the importance of forgetting oneself, because if I forget, then is fun in exploration. Because if I already know the territory, then what is the fun? Right? So if I go into a forest the first time, dangers may be there, and this may be there, that may be there, and always I have to be on high alert. Anything can happen anytime. So there is also, along with the sense of kind of a wonder and adventure, there is risk element, and that gives us the thrill and enchants us. While if the territory is already mapped and there is nothing new, then there is hardly any joy in that adventure. So he is the explorer and the mariner on a secret inner ocean without bourne, an ocean of consciousness without any limits. And this you can see, when we plunge in our own depths, when you have your silent time, you go within, there is an endless depth that you can go within. Although it appears like a limited body, and you're plunging as if within you, but there is no end to this plunging. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper forever. There is no end to this exploration. So, on a secret inner ocean without any limits, without bourne, he is the adventurer and cosmologist. So, this light of observation in us, this light of awareness in us, which takes over when we plunge into our depths, we can go deeper and deeper in this light, with this light. This light is the light of consciousness. He is the secret adventurer. He's plunging into darkness and finding, things here, there, looking at shadows and darkness and corners. He is the adventurer and cosmologist of a magic Earth's obscure geography, a geography which is also magical, but it is obscured, it's hidden behind so many veils. Our senses are the veils, first of all. That's why Mother always talks about detaching from surface consciousness. In Savitri, Sri Aurobindo says, cast thought from thee, nimble ape of light. So he asks us to cast away thought, while we are always trying to find resolutions in the thought. No wonder that we are so confused all the times. And only in the stillness, in the hush, we have true peace and comfort, which in prayers and meditations also Mother refers to again and again, that when I plunge into thee in the calms of thy depths, then there is comfort and solace and peace. And then she shares it with all. She shares that may all who are in their futile agitations and vain mirages, may all of them get this comfort and peace that I find. We cannot find comfort in our surface agitation, the thoughts, feelings, my drama, my story. We cannot. Because why we cannot? Because it's not the truth. It's our delusions of the mind. And when we come back to the here and now, then we are not deluded. We are here. Things are okay. One moment by one moment I can take care of things. But when stories happen, then of course I get entangled in the mind. So there is something which Mother shares with Mona Sarkar. Maybe some of you have heard his name, Mona Da. And there is a little booklet called The Supreme of Mona Da's Conversations with the Mother. So I'm going to read these lines, which are quite comforting lines. Maybe it, when I read this Of the Great Mother's Wide Uncharted Will, so it occurred to me that maybe it would be good to share it here. So Monada is talking about the Supreme, and he's sharing that for me, you are the Supreme Mother. And then she's sharing something. So she says, in the terrestrial evolution, man, who is emerging out of inconscience and ignorance, is guided by the Supreme. And the Supreme, in order to manifest his reign upon earth, labors to uplift the human consciousness so as to establish the divine consciousness. And for this, he does not delegate someone, but he himself manifests physically, even in ignorance, to accomplish his work. So she is describing how she has taken birth. It is I who have been appointed to raise up man and creation out of this inconscience, Mother says. It is I who am responsible. What I wish, the Lord also wishes. I am the supreme in the unmanifest. But in the creation, the supreme acts only through me, exists only by me, and wills nothing but I will, what I will. What we saw, the surrender of Purusha to the Prakriti, the mother. But for men, the supreme is someone beyond everything, who cannot be attained. He who is above ignorance and does not concern himself with anything. For them, I would rather say that it is the Supreme who has done this. I do not want to meddle with their idea of Supreme. So Monada is sharing that you are Supreme for me, Mother. Why are you talking of some other Supreme? But Mother is sharing, since as human beings we are deluded and we have our own ideas of a divine. And Mother says that I don't want to shake it. That if I begin to say I am the divine, why do I want to say that? Because it's one and the same thing. The work is anyway happening. So she says that because if I said that it is I who had done this or had wished so instead of the Supreme, then it would be like a disaster, a shock. People with their ego would not be able to accept that the Supreme could manifest in the inconscience. Because we have our judging minds. We have very limited way of seeing. So we judge even when the divine has taken birth with, as Mother and Sri Aurobindo, we judge through our limited minds. That's why she's sharing that it would not make them better. And it is for this reason that I avoid speaking of myself and I prefer to use the word supreme. To me, it makes no difference. And moreover, people remain convinced that yes, it is the Supreme who is guiding them. So this I found very interesting. And then, yeah, I think this was it from here. Yeah, one little passage I want to read, which is again a passage from a longer conversation. And then Mother says, you have no idea that the whole world bows down to me. You do not know who I am, who has descended in the ignorance among you, who has consented to be human, to take up a physical body among you all. You have no idea of who is there before you. Well, even the gods whom you revere so much perform tapasya in order to have a glimpse of me. It is for me and through me that the whole universe exists and it vibrates in my consciousness. It is through me that living beings and inanimate things and all that you see in manifestation acts and progresses. There is nothing that is not within me. I am the cause. It is in me that all things disappear. Everything is expressed in me and aspires to take refuge in me. Those who know me a little give their entire lives to find me. I am above the whole manifestation. So I think this was very expansive and very comforting. So I thought I'll share this. And there is something more on what is God. And I think it's worth listening to. So I'll share it with you. Again, a short video clip, and then we can maybe end after that. So just a second. Yeah, this one. So a child is asking a question here. What is God?
What is hope? What is God?
Difficult question, but I will try. I think that God is everything. God is everything. And certainly, God is not an idea or a notion. God is very real. And you can get in touch with God if you are mindful, concentrated, and insightful. When you come to Plum Village as a practitioner of meditation, you cultivate the energy of mindfulness, concentration, and insight. And if you have these three energies, surely you can get in touch with God. Right in Plum Village. When you go home, you continue to get in touch with God. You know that when you stop thinking, when you breathe in mindfully and enjoy breathing in, you can already get in touch with God. Because when you breathe in like that, you enjoy breathing in, and you find out that breathing in is wonderful. As I breathe in, I know that I am alive. And to be alive is a wonderful thing. And as I breathe in, I become very alive. I see my body and my mind are wonderful. And I can get in touch with the sunshine, with the hills, with the sunflowers, with the water running from the water tap. And there are so many wonders of life in me and around me. And when I do walking meditation, I recognize that the path leading uphill through the wood is filled of wonders. The grass, the tiny flowers, the insect, the sunshine, everything is a wonder. A pebble, a leaf, a flower, a butterfly, everything is a wonder. And I can see God in everything. You can see God in a pebble, in a piece of dust, in a butterfly, in a in a, in a in a sunflower. You can see God in the other fellow. And if you see God like that, you are a happy person. You do not want to do any harm to yourself. And you do not want to do any harm to the other people. Even if they are violent, even if they suffer because they have not been able to be in touch with God. But if they practice mindfulness, concentration, and insight, if they are mindful, concentrated, and insightful, they have a chance to realize that they are in the kingdom of God. We are really in the kingdom of God.
You know, as Kabir, Saint Kabir, he says, when I look at a fish swimming in water, still a thirsty fish, it makes me laugh. And it is mostly, when we are so trapped in our limited minds, that's our condition, that we are living in a miracle all the time with God, as he was sharing, God is everywhere, everything is full of God. What else? But we are not able to sense that because we are so lost, so deluded. And Kabir says that I laugh when I see that in a bucket full of water or an ocean full of water, how can a fish remain thirsty? So this is our human condition, that we are living in the kingdom of God, but we are so thirsty because we are living in our ignorance, veil, so identify tightly with our thoughts, feelings, all the sense doors, whatever they tell us we believe. And we are hardly here, we are hardly there. No wonder that we miss it. And this is something which pretty much, aligns with what Mother and Sri Aurobindo shares, that divine is in all and all is divine. But where are we lost? And again he says, even when he was writing Savitri, somebody said something about thought, and he says that thought, oh, that I have left far, far ago, far away I have left thought. So a true life is possible even when we are not caught up in thoughts. But to us in our ordinary consciousness, it appears that, oh, if I'm not thinking, how will I live a life? And we get insights, we get intuitions, we have a knowing that knows. It's an intelligent knowing, it's not a dumb knowing. We directly are guided from within what has to be the action in this moment. We don't need thought so obsessively the way we use it, entangled by it. So to get in touch with that inner intuition, knowing that knows, and it knows much better than a limited sense mind thought would know. So to have that trust in that inner guidance, inner knowing. But it's again, as easier said than done, it's a day-to-day process. We cannot just have it in one day. We always have to keep at it. It's a practice, long, arduous practice. Because the moment I slip, I'm in the forest of thought again, entangled, bleeding. So yeah, any thoughts, any reflections? I think we can stop here for today. Although we took, I think, not many lines, but it was quite pregnant with a lot of richness, so I thought it'll go a little slow. I think in one of the poems by Sri Aurobindo, he also talks about the same God who takes up so much time, gives so much energy to make a very intricate creature. He is the one who takes care of designing a grain of sand, and he is the one who takes so much labor in fashioning a curl. In hair we have curls. Those of us who have hair, we have curls in the hair, and it's the creation from coming from the divine. It's his creation, but we are so lost in our uh, dreams that we hardly have any time to get very intimate with this presence that is 24/7 with us. So that's our chance, that's our possibility. Each day, every moment by moment, we have that possibility to be in touch with this inner truth and guidance which is there. Make it a little simple for us, because we don't know how much time we have. We hardly are aware whether we are going to be there next moment or not. So why to give so much of focus and attention to future worries and present happenings and past and all that? We can live a life which is moment to moment, not saying that moment by moment consuming things, but moment by moment enjoying the richness of life, mindfully being there, not lost in our thoughts and delusions. It is a possibility for us. Then life becomes simple. Yeah, that's it, I think, from my side. Anyone, anything to share, any reflection?
Monica, can I share a personal reflection
Yeah,
here?
yeah, please,
Yeah.
please.
Uh, on mother's birthday, I went to that Alsur center, Alsur Ashram. So I was there in that sales area where I was buying some agarbattis. So a person in front of me was buying something, but that fellow, it seems, he didn't have that much money. So he took 2, 3 pictures, but when it was all bill, he didn't have that money. So I was standing behind him. So I thought, okay, I will ask the person to bill that in my, I can pay for it. But 1 minute I thought, mother, I really want to help this person, but it should not be from my, as you said, we should be aware, and the inner guidance is always there. It's not that I cannot buy, or it's not that I don't want to buy for him, and that too on a darshan day. So I was waiting 2 minutes, 2 seconds for that guidance to mother to show me the thing, and a person who just came, she said, you can, I will buy the whole thing for this, I will pay for that person. So I was so happy that one thing I didn't want to do was, I don't want to act out from my ego self. Yeah, I bought this for him, and I'm happy that I am buying something to somebody because it's a mother's birthday, and I don't want to act out and do that first one. And I was waiting for 2 seconds for that inner guidance, and somebody else paid, and he was happy, and I'm happy that I was able to wait, and then his wish also got fulfilled.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Very
So
nice.
then instead of getting, then I felt that, see, when you wait for, usually I'm a person who jumps to conclusions and who just act without thinking. So that felt really good, and more happy for that person that he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This rejoicing in others' goodness, rejoicing in others' happiness, this is also something which Mother also, in fact, she also talks about. There is a story when there was a feast happening for the Buddha, and the guy who made the feast possible, he then was asking that, okay, who are we going to dedicate this virtue to? Who is this, person who you want to dedicate, the one who is very generous and very giving? And then there was a lady outside who was like a beggar, and she was having so much of delight that wow, she was not being treated, but she was standing out, looking at the feast, and she was getting so much of delight that wow, this person is treating and feasting, making a feast possible for all the enlightened beings. And she was enjoying in that richness, in that rejoicing in that happiness. And the Buddha said that to her we are going to offer or dedicate all the virtue. So this is really very beautiful, to rejoice in goodness of others, happiness of others, if we can do that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone? Many a times this happens in our attached relationships, that maybe the other person is happier, enjoying with friends or maybe on an adventure, but we, instead of being happy, we feel like as if I am in a lack, why am I not enjoying? So if I recognize this movement in me, and if I can shift it, I can tell myself that I may not be there, but at least the person is rejoicing and happy with whatever company he or she has. I think there we shift our consciousness from an egoistic, lacking one to a relatively easy, in the moment, that how good that the person is enjoying and relishing himself. So that itself is our own sadhana, whenever we can do that. Yeah. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today, for listening and contributing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.